Unravel, your host TC the Colonel. Episode, I don't have a clue, but it's been a journey, though. It just keeps going and going. And every time I keep bringing someone in, it's always a person that's here for goodness, you know what I mean? We don't really deal with like kind of nonsense. But getting to today's point, it's been a bit rainy and shivery out there, but we don't let that stop us to get into the goal. Special guest today, everyone that comes is special guests because it's, you know, it's an honour to have them. You know what I mean? We got Mr. Mentivity here. Well, it's not really Mr. Mentivity. Mentivity is the movement, but he would also say his name. When I first found his name, I thought he said Sauce. You know, so I was thinking about this guy, is he American or I don't understand. Like, is this the name Sauce Lewis? Or, you know, so I thought he's a young old rapper. I don't know. I was confused, but he's gonna explain everything.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming, and can you let the listeners know?
Yeah.
And the viewers know.
My name's Sace, so Sace Holmes Lewis.
Say.
Yeah, I've been called everything under the sun. Say, CC, say, sassy, you know, you name it. So I'm used to it. But yeah, Sace, S-A-Y-C-E. So I'm the founder and CEO of Mentivity, which is a mentoring organization which raises aspirations of young people and helps them along their journey of life, but links them and signposts towards their passions as a means to progress in life, and just trying to change the lives of young people one by one. I'm an Arsenal fan, and Ian Wright became my dad pretty much, you know, and he raised me through the media and through what he was doing, and he inspired me to want to play professional football, which I followed from that age. So it was just, you know.
What happened?
What do you mean?
With the football?
Oh, I played professional for a couple of years.
I was waiting for the injury.
Well, that came afterwards, but I went to the Republic of Ireland. I lived in Ireland for about a year.
Word?
On and off, about a town called Mullingar. So about...
Shout out to Mullingar.
Yeah. 40 miles from Dublin. A lot different back then, 2002. So I left home at 19 to go and live over there. Then I went to Romania. So I had a stint in Romania with a team called FC Brasov. Oh,
the football made you transfer?
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense, you know, Ireland, then Romania.
Listen, I was hungry. I went anywhere for football.
Passion.
So football was what basically gave me a platform to learn a lot. But as I said, between the ages of especially 11 and 14, my boys were mainly Peckham boys, so I was rolling with them. I'm more so a part-time Peckham boy because my mum didn't let me out on weekends. So it's literally just between school hours and after school. So, but obviously the influence is there, and just trying to find that kind of love through, you know, your friendship, your peer group, and just identity. You know, like growing up in where I grew up, it was, you know, white working class, you know, Caribbeans, Africans. It was a mix, but it was a very white culture. So you were subconsciously seeing that black wasn't, you know,
powerful.
The in thing. No, it wasn't. Look, we grew up near Millwall Football Club, so, you know, you had Combat 18, you had the NFs, you know, you had the skinheads, all that stuff. So you were constantly being told that, you know, black wasn't enough and that you were inferior. So you start to believe that at some point. So you wanted that identity. So being around my Caribbean friends, African friends, that was my peer group. And then you know, when you're hanging around, you get out to mischief. That's what kids do. So and I just didn't like education. I didn't really focus on that at that time. Just wanted to focus on being around my friends and playing ball. That's what kids.
We don't actually have our own community centre and stuff that we built or that we paid for. Is it because that we might not be able to have access to the land, or is it because people don't want to work together? The reason I'm saying is because not just yourself. I've noticed. Obviously, when I was in jail, a lot of people would always ask for funding from the government. They will, when they go on the news, when they bring people from the community onto the big platforms to ask the question, why is there knife crime? Why are they killing each other? And obviously, our response would always be like, speakers like yourself will say, you know, due to the government's cutting off funding and so on, which has been here. It's been for years. What gets me is that we know this. We know we actually know consciously that they don't really care. Yeah. We consciously know they ain't gonna drop us the 100 racks or the 50 racks or the 250 or the $250,000. They might do a certain like 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks and they say you lot spread it. They might get there might be 20 people that's trying to do an independent organisation to help the community, putting in for Princess Trust and etc. fundings, and they might only pick 5. But then they'll pick 10 people who want to do like fashion clothing and design and stuff. So that's frustration.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it ourselves. The Mentivity is a bit different. So I set up the limited company because I worked for a charity for 9 years, part-time for about 7.5, and then a year and a half. And I realized that what was happening to the money shouldn't have been happening. So where the money should have been spent on certain young people, it shouldn't. It wasn't.
Oh, so they were skimming. Charities were skimming, just like when we watch Children in Need and all that stuff.
Money wasn't going to where it should have been.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized. But also, I don't like this whole kind of, you know what, we're deprived. We need help. We need this. Can you help us?
Yes.
And it's almost that kind of white savior approach. And I wasn't on that. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to set up as a limited company. I'm going to create as a business. I'm going to create employment. And to be honest, I didn't really know how I was going to do it. I had a concept. I ran a pilot program for about a year before. But then I just kind of saw opportunities. But for me, it's frustrating when we're going on TV and we're just begging. Like, we can't keep begging. We've got to do for self. And if people see that you're mobilizing your community and you're doing certain things, then people are going to help you. And I use the analogy when I'm working with young children. Like, for example, when you see someone that's broken down in a car and they're standing there with a sign like help and thumbs up, like, they're not doing anything. No one will stop. But the minute you see someone pushing their car by themselves, you see about 4 or 5 people just come to their aid. That's what happens, and that's what we need to do. We need to do for ourselves. Then certain people are going to look like, wow, these guys are actually doing it themselves. They're not dependent on the government. I know they need support, but they've done it themselves. They got this far. Let me invest in this. Let me spend money in this. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to do that. We've got to have self-determination.
And have you, like, when I was sitting inside the cabin, still saying, right, you know, there's some rich man them on the blocks.
Yeah.
You're not legit, cool, fair enough. But, you know, some of them have good intentions in life. Not just always trying to, like, fund the youths and keep the street economy going and, you know. So have you ever approached some of those kind of people? Like, you know, they might be called like the bosses and stuff. And, you know, where you kind of had word to them that, you know, you lot have a big influence on these kids from this neighborhood and that. But, you know, like, say, you know, Ricardo's a good footballer, innit? And like 2 weeks ago he got nicked with very rare. This could be his life where he might go, but if you want to invest in him, why don't you invest in him and put him through and I'll look after? Does that kind of
that's the next
communication
stage.
go?
That's the next stage. I mean, for me now is trying to mobilize and get some sort of funding and sponsorship from corporations, which is linked to kind of an employability program that we're running called the Raising Aspirations Project. So that's what we're really trying to do now, and just showcase that, look, in terms of diversity, inclusion, and creating a workforce that, you know, it reflects your demographic, we have to get these young people to be aware and get them into these organizations, and that's where we're going to be able to change it. But that's also something that we need to do in the different areas, whether it's the sports, the arts, the road, whatever it may be, and bringing together like a group of people, a consortium of people where we say, look, let's invest, let's spend £10 a week, £50 a week, whatever you can. We don't control the music, we don't control the record labels, we're not independent, and we don't control the media. We can't control the narrative. So that's what's important now, is that we control the narrative. This negative aspect of our community is a small minority of people. Not all young people are the same.
Yes.
And again, so we've got to really, really take control and show people that, you know, there is a positive side to this music. You know, it is creating employment, it is getting people out of the hood, and that's important to showcase that as well. So there's another documentary we're part of as well, Terms and Conditions, on YouTube. So it's on Grime Daily, you can check that out. But again, I learned a lot from that documentary myself, even though I had certain views on drill music because I lost a young person. You know, I lost Raheem Barton, so his rap name would be GB, but I lost him in, you know, 5th of May 2018, and that was a byproduct of drill music. That was a byproduct of being around certain people and living a certain way. But you know, when you lose a young person, it really hits home. But we shouldn't wait to lose a young person to be doing the work that we're doing, or trying to just talk to a young person, you know, on the street. We don't talk anymore. You know, there's no intergenerational dialogue.
When I come out of jail, I said, yeah, you know, I need to break that barrier between me and my father, because he's African, I'm from Ghana, innit? So without African parents, especially like if they're religious in that sense, there's a kind of barrier of how what really is going on with your son and what the law and God and everything is saying what's to be found your son. So I broke it in the way it's like, yo, I'm a grown man, I'm a dad, this is how you be treated as a son, this is how I felt, this is how, you know, I want to do with my kids, and this is how I see the family and stuff. So then at the same time, when I come out and meet like the other young new generation, so in my neighborhood I call them the 5th generation, I have no attachment to them, there's no connections, and I sat there and said, it's like our history though. It's like when they grabbed all the ancestors, they wipe off everyone, all those young kids that are birthed from straight, you grab them and then they influence them. You know, as soon as we come out of our mum's womb, we're given straight into the system and that. So when you mentioned that about like the connections and breaking that barrier and bringing the youths closer to our generation, it's very important. But most of them, like naturally I was like that as well, we would be like, they're not interested.
They're not interested.
Have you experienced that a lot? Trying to do video? Well, you must have.
Yeah.
Where you've got this. I can't say stubborn ignorant because I was like that once. Where older guy who is not showing me what like I want in life.
Yeah.
It's talking to me and telling me how to correct my way of life. And when I was thinking back then, you'd be like, yo, I need to get out of this neighborhood. I want to get my mum out of this. I want to look after my family, so I got to do what I got to do. My mum's working, cool. I can't get a job. I just come out of prison or feds are on me. I'm getting harassed. I hustle, I make money, but it's coming. It's good, it's stabilizing. Yeah, there's consequences, but that's the life I chose.
So the problem is that when you're a child, that's when you're at your most selfish, especially in your teenage years, because you've been conditioned by capitalism. You've been like, right, I've got to make money. From a young age, you just see money around you. You look at the city, Canary Wharf, you see it. So then when people are telling you, no, it's not about money, you got to go get education, you need to listen to me. Like, we've got our economic structure, so we can't then build our own schools or have our own free schools. So again, like, the problem is that the education should start from the home. And that should always start from the home. So where I learned about certain things was in the home, having conversations with my mom, with my dad from time to time, with my grandparents. And you need to understand who you are and have a foundation on which to build upon. If you don't have that foundation, then you're not going to be able to build a future. You're not going to be able to create a pathway. So that's what we're trying to do with Mentivity, is create a new kind of education where it's more informal education. So learning through conversation, vocational learning through doing, and then linking in certain formal aspects. Because you look at the education system here, it hasn't changed in 70, 80 years. But children are changing from week to week. Do you know what I mean? It's different topics, different trends. So the fact of the matter is when we get in young people, they're saying, look, these kids are at risk of permanent exclusion. We don't know what to do with them. All right, cool. Do a little consultation. What do you guys need to learn? How can we help you? And we build a little program for them based on that. But it's also linked to a structured program that we have. So we create sessions around perception of self, where we look at different pictures of people and judge them. What do you see? And then we list off their accolades and their achievements. So and then at the end we have a discussion and linking perception and first impressions to school and to wider life. If you're wearing a certain thing, how are people gonna kind of presume that you're this certain this person? If you're wearing a hoodie and he's a drill artist or he's a roadman. So again, it's about creating an education system which is going to serve our young people and allow them to flourish. But the problem that we're having is that we keep looking to our oppressors to educate us, to solve our problems, like you just said. So we're oppressed consistently. So we need to now start thinking about how we're going to build our own schools, how we're going to draw our young people out of this education. We need to have more Afrocentric education. We need to learn about our contextual history, about the things that we're never going to learn. Like, our history never starts with slavery. It never started with slavery. But it's about, us sharing those experiences. Like me, I'm obsessed with the motherland right now, with Africa. Like the first time I went was Egypt 2015. And when I went to Cairo, I got a hotel which is right opposite the Great Pyramid of Giza. And I literally sat there for 3 hours just staring at it, because as a kid, I always wanted to see this. I loved the Egyptians. I was obsessed. So when I went, I realized how amazing we were as people and what we've done and how it's been erased. So from then I was just like, I need to explore this continent. I need to explore these countries. And since then, I've been to Kenya twice. I've been to Uganda. I've actually launched a football academy in Kenya, in Uganda.
Whoa, so, slow down. We ran. Can we start again? Can you say that, please? This is what I like. I like brothers that do things and don't forget about home, man. Doesn't matter where you are, but where the people are as a mass. If you go and do something, God bless you. Carry on, bro. Say that again.
Yeah, so I've launched a football academy in Kenya. So I launched that in 2018 and one in Uganda last year as well, with the Arms Around Africa Foundation. So again, we're just trying to give back. The diaspora needs to go home. There's opportunities back there.
Big bills.
And people don't really understand, and it's not what they tell us. This is why they're too busy, they're trying to infiltrate and destabilize us. So, going to Kenya has just been a beautiful experience for me, because I could see a life there. I can see opportunity. Like, I'm looking at it as it's like England, London, 1999. Like I'm like, nah. There's opportunities here where I can give back, but also create a life for myself. So
build your own world. Like
Yeah.
you literally, you touch there, and that's the first thing that came to me. Right, I can build a world. I feel like I went back in time.
Yeah.
That's what it literally is.
Yeah, yeah,
Like-
and it's important. A lot of people see what we're doing and understand what we're doing because it is structured. It isn't just going into the classroom and talking to children. We do have, learning objectives. We do have people like my brother studying psychology for education. Leon studying social sciences. They're finishing university literally in the next couple of months. So that's going to add more to our offer.
Yeah, because you need different departments, different fields
That's
of
it.
line of work in it, in this kind of movement.
That's it. So just look out for what we're doing across London and just being that voice for young people, but giving them a voice as well, and just not us saying it from our point of view. It's about passing that baton on for the young people and letting them, shape their future and feeling empowered because they don't feel that they've got any say, they've got any power.
Yeah. I was going to ask that as well before I wrap up. When you've been working with these youths, what is it they see in life? Like, what's their mentality? Obviously, it's individual people's thoughts and stuff, but as a collection of mass, let's say for even the young lads, young black lads as well, what do you actually hear from them as a whole collection? Like, what's their reasons for their actions, or what's their views on even like the society and the world that they live in today?
Nobody cares. You'll speak to a lot of kids, a lot of boys and girls, they feel like nobody cares. Whether it's their own parents, I think parents need to do more. As I said, an extended family need to do more, but children feel lost. I think this is the most difficult time in history to be a young person. You're being pulled from pillar to post, you're being influenced in so many different ways. You've got social media, you've been told, just look at the coronavirus, everyone's in a whole state everyone's just like in hysterics, but I'm like, look,
Even my
more
mum.
people die from the flu than this new virus. So it's the media, we're stereotyping our children to feel like they're by themselves when we have a community and we need to kind of demonstrate this. So they feel unloved, they feel lost, and they just need a bit of guidance. Every child likes structure. Like, don't let any parent or someone, I don't care who's every child likes structure. So when we're going to schools and we're putting them up about their behavior and we're saying, look, this isn't right. You haven't been brought up this way. Like, this is not your culture. And when you're putting them up, that's what they like, because it shows that you care. So they want to feel empowered. They want to feel loved. Even telling a child that you love them is important, because some children don't experience that at home. Whether they're in foster care, they've never been told that they're loved. So you can be told, but you also got to be shown
as well.
So it's very, very important. So when you're coming in across a lot of these young people, even Raheem, I used to tell Raheem I loved him all the time. The first time I said it to him, he looked at my brother Tash and said, Ty, is your brother, is he straight? And I'm like, bruv, come on, man, I'm just telling you this because that's how I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
And the day that he died, he actually told us, that he loved us. He was coaching with us on that day. He died in the morning before he was shot. And he said, you know what? I got mad love for you guys, man. Like, seriously, like, you've just been looking out for me. And just to hear that from him, because he was so cold at that time in his life, because he felt he'd been rejected from education, repeatedly since the age of 8. He'd gone to Jamaica and he had been kind of exiled from his own community because of his behavior to some degree and what he was putting out through his true music. But he just felt isolated. Like, we've never been so connected by social media, but we're so disconnected at the same time. People don't talk anymore. Children don't talk. They don't know about shaking hands and coming to a room and eye contact. So we're doing them a disservice. So again, these young people, they want to be loved, they want to be supported, they want that structure, they want to be disciplined. They need that, because without that, they're going to feel isolated, because the world's just going to chew them up. Yeah, they're going to be exploited by the media, they're going to be exploited by people in their own area.
By the system, society.
But the system of society, but again,
even their own as well.
Exactly, because they're being sent out to lunch and all these different things, being exploited.
Let the youngest go.
Yeah.
TK.
But just, the amount of abuse, emotional, psychological abuse that they're facing on a day-to-day, it's just, you cannot experience that and be okay without the support networks that should be there.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but they just want to be loved. They want to be supported. They want an opportunity. They want a chance.
And that's why we have good organisations like Mentivity here.
That's why we're here, man.
So we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for coming as well.
Appreciate it.